Okay, here goes nothing. So I actually have my compressors are turned off right now. I can't turn the fan off, so I got that going on. What are we gonna make today? So yesterday I started making some clear Christmas ornaments. I don't know if they're going to show up. Yeah, oh, perfect. Okay. Now we're revisiting the exposure, revisiting exposure, but I'm hoping that I can just call this exposure the exposure that I'm going to use. I need to fix this. Hopefully I can. Well, there's no. I know I can. I just take a couple minutes. I figure the camera will overheat. I've also had like 4 cups of coffee this morning, so there's that. It was interesting yesterday. I just didn't have the, I don't know what you want to call it, the feel. Not even the feel. I don't know, it's just someone to go play video games. So we need to make this just a little bigger. The hole doesn't have to be real big. But I just kind of want to be straighter. Okay, there we go. We fixed that one. Let's fix the one off. What the hell's going on with my? There it is. There we go. That's good enough. I'm just going to give that a little whoops, flame out. That's okay. I'm pretty much done with that. I'm going to let that sit for a minute. Alright. Let's try another one here. So I've mentioned it many different times. This is my GTT Phantom. I'm running 20 psi, give or take a little bit, on the oxygen, and propane's at like 10, which is actually way too high for what I'm doing today. Making Christmas ornaments, I don't need a whole lot of gas. So here we have a relatively straight. We have a relatively straight point here. I'm going to open this end. So I'm going to open this end up. And I'm just going to polish it just a tiny bit. If you're not careful, you'll end up, cutting your lip on them. So I sealed this end. I'm gonna set this one aside because inevitably, when I do that, I burn the piss out of my mouth. Let me see here. This one is really crooked. So I'm gonna open the end on this one. So in my hand here, this is it's just a tungsten carbide glass drill bit that I put in a handle. It works really good. Again, I'm just going to polish this just a tiny bit, just to take the real razor sharp edge off of it. So you can see, if you look along the line here, this thing is really cattywampy. That's my fault. I pulled a crooked point. So I'm going to try to straighten it out. If I can't get it straight enough to pull into an ornament, I will, or pull into a icicle-y type ornament, which I'm going to tighten my flame a little here. Now, I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but there's an interesting effect going on here. About half hour ago, give or take a little bit, I sprayed some paint for another project on the other side of my shop. Well, the overspray apparently is still floating around, and every once in a blue moon, a little tiny fleck of overspray is landing in my flame and making a spark, which is a little disturbing, really. Mainly because that's what's going on in my lungs. Alright, so that one's relatively straight. I'm going to set this one aside. Off camera, I have an aluminum baking tray that I set that stuff in. Alright, so this one's relatively straight. Now, I have to decide what, like before I start these, usually I'll have kind of an idea what I want to do. Shorter ones like this don't lend themselves to doing much other than just becoming balls. Not even balls so much as, I don't know what to call them, ornaments. I'm just going to call them ornaments. So I'm just going to heat this thing up. This clear profile tubing is actually really tricky and difficult to work with. It's really cool when you master it, which I have not. When you master it, it's actually pretty cool to work with. I have not mastered it, so therefore I got a lot of practice to do still. So I'm warming up the entire point area, but very carefully trying to keep it uniformly warm. Now I'm going to drag my left hand just a little, and I'm going to put a little bit of a twist in it. This clear is, it's actually deceptively thin. I'm just going to put a little bit more of a twist in it. Heating the whole thing, kind of paying a little bit more attention to the center, but I am heating the whole piece. Now it's getting nice and soft. I can tell by the way it's acting as I spin it, it's getting soft. Now I'm going to pull it out of the heat in just a second and let it equalize just a little, and I'm going to blow into it a little bit. I'm trying to maintain the shape here, so I'm going to heat the ends a little more. This is going to be a small-ish ornament. The point's kind of small, so I want to make it small, but I want it kind of round. So I need to focus on the ends because they didn't blow out right. Now I'm going to heat it a little more. It's getting nice and warm. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to let it equalize a little. And I'm going to hit it again. And I'm going to call that one done. It's a nice little piece, right? So they don't all need to be crazy pieces. So let's see if it's working out. There you go. They don't all need to be crazy intricate pieces like this one. They can be very simple, and very simple actually sells very well. Now remember, everything I do to sell. So I'm going to open this end of the tube up, and then I'm going to take a quick look at it. I'm going to take a quick look at it this way and see which way the end wants to be. I'm going to call it, I'm going to say this end here. I don't necessarily need to adjust my flame here. I can leave it just the way it is if I use the edge of the flame. I'm getting a little hot. Alright, I got a nice little ball pulled out there. I'm going to pull, let it cool for a second. Bring it back around. Melt that section off. It goes bye-bye into my little can over here. And then I'm going to take my... I am going to adjust my flame just a little. Turning the propane down, which actually lowers the heat. I know that's counterintuitive, but you need... I had mentioned in some of my other videos that my very first batch of ornaments that I made almost exactly a year ago, actually, I had some pretty serious flaws in them. Well, those flaws were my fault, so if you have one that's broken, if this end snapped off, I'll be more than happy to either put a new end on it or just give you another one. Alright, so I'm going to heat this just a little bit in the flame, so the flame's way out here. Oops, that was my hand in the fire. My flame's, I'm just going to kind of anneal this a little bit. Just a tiny bit. It doesn't need a lot. I'm going to turn that just a tiny bit. And I'm going to grab my pliers here. I should just set this aside. You know what? I'm just going to set it aside. I don't need to... I'm not doing production work today, so it's no real big rush. And now I've got this one here. And I'm just going to pull the end off of it and seal it. That's the end of it. We're done. It's actually a good way to do it. If you do it real quick, you end up with a nice little... You end up with a nice end if you do it fast. So that's one that I made the other day. Let's make another one here. And I said off to my right, off camera, I actually have a off to the right of the camera is my kiln, and on the kiln I have an aluminium, if you were from the UK and or don't like my Delco accent, tray that sits on top of the kiln. That tray, after about 3 or 4 hours, will get to be pretty warm. Not warm enough to bake cookies, but definitely warm enough that I'm not throwing hot glass, or yeah, I'm not throwing hot glass into a cold hole or a cold spot. It's slightly chilly in here this morning. So. All right, I'm gonna on this one. I think we're gonna try to do another intricate-y type one. I'm going to start at the top. This is going to be the top. And I'm heating up a relatively decent sized piece here. I'm going to turn the torch up just a little because I usually rush. This particular material wants to be heated very evenly and very slowly. or else it gets out. Oh, and the points want to be as perfectly straight as we can make them. I'm gonna let that cool for a second. I'm gonna blow it out. Yeah, so it's not terrible, but it's not great. All right, so to try to save this one, we're gonna heat this up right here at the base of the bubble. We're gonna get it to collapse in on itself, and I'm gonna pull it as soon as it starts to get warm. I'm gonna pull it to create kind of a teardrop, and then I'm gonna slowly drag my right or left hand. Didn't work. Okay, so now we're just gonna pull it, pull. All right, so that's gonna be about the end of this one. Maybe just because I might be able to do it, I'm gonna tighten my flame up a little bit. So this particular piece here already is showing some unevenness at the end, and that unevenness is created. It was actually created when I pulled the point, and it was exasperated when I heated it unevenly. This, like I said, this particular material is very, very, very susceptible to overheating or uneven heating. Let's see if we can straighten it out. That's not what I want to do. No, it didn't work. Let's try to throw a little bit more heat in it, and then give it a little puff, because I want the end to actually be a little bit rounder. I want the bubble to be a little rounder. Take it out of the heat for a second. Not pushed in on that. Yeah, it's not getting any better. Alright, so I don't know what to do here other than to call it. If I call it now, I have a sellable ornament. If I futz with it anymore, if I fiddle with it anymore, it's going to be unsellable. So we're going to call it. We're going to call this one sellable. I'm going to heat it right about here. If you actually, before I even heated it, you can see where the point is out of round. Let's see if it shows up on the camera. Yeah, you can actually see pretty clearly the unevenness of the point. That's all right. You know, they're handmade. They're handmade. They're hand pulled. Each one is a unique individual piece. Pull that out a little more. We're going to put a loop in it. It's a little thin, but we'll make it work. Now remember, these are Christmas ornaments. You know, I do my very best to make these. I do my very best to make these as strong as I possibly can. But they are glass and they are ornaments. They're not any of the other types of utilitarian borosilicate glassware that I make. These are not. I don't want to say they're not designed to last. They are. That's part of my. It's part of my shtick. But there's definitely a you got to be careful with them aspect to it. Okay, so this is the one I just made a couple minutes ago. It's cooled off to the touch. Just gonna grab it right about here, and then I'm gonna arbitrarily pick a spot. I shouldn't actually say arbitrarily, because I try to make all of my ornaments between 6 and 8 inches long, so they fit nice in a packing box. And you don't want them too long because it's a Christmas ornament. You don't want them huge. You want the trees can't take it. The trees. All right. Now let's do another one here. Let's see if we can save face. This one looks relatively straight. So I got kind of a goofy end on that. I'm just going to whack a little polish on it. Take the lip cutter out of it, or off of it. I'm going to grab another one because I'm going to let that cool for a second. This one's also a little cattywampy. My points were not great yesterday. I'll admit to that. So yesterday morning, I spent, I don't know, an hour or two just pulling points. You can watch me do that in another video that I have posted, where I make an ornament from very start to finish. So this one, I think I'm going to start at this end. This is going to be the wide end. I'm going to do something I don't normally do here, just as an experiment. I want to see if I can heat a larger area more evenly. So this material is very susceptible to overheating. It's already, just because the flame is wider does not necessarily make it hot, mean it's hotter. It's just a wider surface area of the flame. So we got it. It's nice and it went floppy almost immediately. It started to get out of control. I don't know if there's another one, I don't know if I can save it. There's a reason I don't make a whole lot of these anymore. They just, they're very unhappy. This is very unhappy material to work with. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but it's cattywampy. It's purely inexperience on my part. That's why they, that's what's going on here. It's not anything to do with the material, really. It's a poor craftsman that blames his equipment, poor craftsman that blames his materials. But it's my inexperience. Plus, I really haven't done a whole lot of this material in a couple months. I had a little bit of a, I did have a period of time where I was using a lot of this, because it's all I had. I'm pulling on this relatively hard, trying to get whatever little left of the heat is out of it. I got a nice little quarter twist in there, not even maybe an eighth of a twist. Catches the light really nice. So it's a shame I can't totally, I wonder if I can, I actually locked the exposure. So my experimentation with exposure has basically just proven that, or my experimentation with exposure with this camera is that the camera overcompensates. So I have to lock the exposure. Oops. I have to lock the exposure. Right. Same deal. Basically I do this for about 6 hours a day until I get bored or run out of materials. What that means is I got probably close to 1,000 Christmas ornaments right now, and they need to go. So please contact me through YouTube if you're watching it on YouTube, through Facebook Messenger, or I always joke about it. Just give me a call if you have my number. If you don't, and my email, which I'll put it at the end. It's not going to be a link. You're going to have to actually enter it, because quite frankly I don't know how to put that shit in.